left, right.
Thank you for watching SipTalk. This episode is about whether or not you should wear a mask. How's this thing look anyways? Looks like I'm in Mortal Kombat. Alright, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. Make some comments below. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Of course, let's go.
Cheers.
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 Hit the live over here. Hitting the live over here. And we're going to go ahead and record. So this is SipTalk number 21 with James Boswell. James, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here in voice.
Glad to be a part of it, man.
In voice alone. So it's cool. I gotta jack up the computer audio here because that's the only way people can connect with you is by hearing you through my computer speaker because we're on Zoom separate from the live. So so you said you had a drink.
So they can't hear me. That my audio is coming through the mic, not directly through the feed.
No, your audio is coming out of my computer, and then these things obviously they have a mic. Both the phones I'm live on over here have a mic. So you can be heard. You just can't be seen, and you don't have a camera.
Well, depending on who's looked at me, some people would say that's probably for the best.
Well, so I got a nice leftover bottle of Dewar's from a lease signing we had last Friday. So I'm gonna enjoy that. You said you got some warm beer?
Yeah.
What's the deal with the warm beer?
I'm too lazy to put it in the fridge. I could also go with some whiskey. I got some Evan Williams, and then I've got some good dark rum that maybe I'll break out during a quick little break.
You know, it doesn't take that much preparation time to put your beer in the refrigerator. And if you're
I think you underestimate just how lazy I can be.
If you're anything like me, you do not have a stocked refrigerator. I'm not much of a stocked refrigerator.
Neither am I. Although actually 2 weeks ago, I had some friends come for the 4th of July, and we actually had a 100% full fridge. It was crazy.
Of food or drinks?
Mostly food. That's actually a ratio. I call it the adult ratio. Whenever you go grocery shopping, you take the amount of money you spend on booze and the amount of money that you spend in total. And the percentage that you spent on booze is your adult ratio. The lower it is, the more adult you are.
There you go. I like that.
Spending more money on food.
I don't know if I mean, you could coin that. I like that. We could do something like that. Remind me of that. George is here watching, by the way. George just got engaged. Congrats, George.
Oh, congrats.
So look, so you get your warm beer over there. You said a minute ago you were searching for stats. Oh, God, James, I really apologize on this one. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable here. Hang on. Sorry about that. My bad. Sorry.
Oh.
All right.
I don't think
Safe
1,000 miles or so. I think I'm safe, considering Charleston's doing way worse than New York City right now.
Yeah,
but yeah, the stat that I was looking for was I wanted to see approximately what the fatality rate for someone who gets infected by COVID is. Now, granted, that's going to have a lot of variance based on pre-existing conditions, your age, other health, like if you're diabetic or you had any respiratory problems. But I wanted to get just a general picture because our topic for tonight was going to be just COVID in general and how you process risk. And one thing that I thought about was like if you contract COVID, what are the probabilities that you have either serious complications and or die from it? And the serious complications is harder to measure. So I just said, you know what, we're just going to look strictly at what are the chances that you die from contracting COVID.
Okay.
And the numbers range anywhere from 0.2% all the way up to like 3 or 4%. That's a pretty big range.
0.2%, we're talking hundreds.
Yeah, so your chances go from about 1 in 500 about 1 in 30.
But
and it really depends on what source you're looking for.
But that doesn't look like 0.02. That looks like 0.0002.
No, 0.2%. 1 in 500. 1 in 500 chance.
Okay. Which is insane. of dying, 1 in 500.
Right. And so if you think about,
can I just make a
yeah,
note
go.
that as more people get tested, that death rate and complication rate is going down because the cases are going up, but the daily deaths are pretty much staying the same. We're finding out more people had it and more people have it every day. So the news is shocking about we're finding out how many more people have it. But as more people have it, it's my understanding that the death rate we're realizing that it's less and less, the death rate.
It's possible. And that's why there's a lot of play in the numbers. And that's why I'm giving a range, just because I can't say for sure. I'm not an epidemiologist or whatever. So the low end is about 1 in 500. The high end is about 1 in 30, 1 in 40. And so
rated demographically?
I'm sure I could get that. I just wanted to get a very general number. I don't want to turn this into like a statistician's debate. I wanted to really just get a number to put to a hypothetical.
Okay.
Which is for the people that have to work right now, that have to be in jobs that they're interacting with a large number of people on a daily basis. So take your grocery workers, your people that work in restaurants, any retail workers, any of those kind of jobs. First of all, none of them have the ability to work from home, and a lot of those jobs are relatively lower income. So the people that are working those probably didn't have too much savings. They can't really afford to just not work and ride this out. So they have to work. And so when you think if they're putting themselves at an elevated risk to get infected by being out in public all the time, interacting with tons of strangers or whatever, you think, well, if we break down the rate at which they might die if they get infected and think, how much would you have to be compensated if I told you that when you go into work tomorrow, your chances of dying are 1 in 500 or 1 in 100. If I were to say there's a 1 in 100 chance that when you go to work tomorrow, you might die. And the question I would ask is, how much would you have to get paid? What would your salary have to be for you to say, I'm okay walking into work knowing that there's a 1 in 100 chance?
A 1 in 100 chance. That means over the course of a year, you have 3.5 chances of dying. I mean, now, yeah, but you see where I'm going. Like, I'm bending the statistics, but 1 in 100 people. There's more than 100 people that work for this company, for the Julia Group.
Yeah. So if we're to believe the statistics, I think the 1% might be a little high. Let's say 1 in 250, because that puts you at a 0.4% chance. Let's say 1 out of 250. Okay. So that means that if you were to have every single one of your people working for you and every single person were to get infected, then you'd have about a little over a 50% chance, a little under a 50% chance that one of them would die.
Yeah. So what's your question? Because a lot of these people are barely making minimum wage. And I wonder these people, because you look at restaurants that are being held together by a skeleton staff divided in half.
Well,
so what's that?
It's really a thought experiment of, like, both you and I are kind of privileged in that we don't have to worry about, well, first of all, I can work from home, and like you can kind of limit the number of people that you interact with because you can do a lot of the negotiations on the real estate by phone or remotely by internet. So
true.
But if I were to say there's a 1 in 250 chance that your job might kill you this year, how much would you demand to get paid?
I'd risk it. I'd go same price. But that's me. I play the numbers like that. I drive fast. I do, I do things probably that are a higher risk pool. But
would you do it for $8 an hour? Would you do it for $11 an hour?
Well, I don't believe in that aspect of working, especially the hourly wage. But but then when you quantify it dollar wise, that when you're getting minimum wage, that's like I don't think anybody's going to, and that's what I'm saying. If you work in a restaurant, the waiter, you're making $3 an hour. You're not making, or whatever it is. It's not $15 an hour.
$2.15. At least in South Carolina, the federal minimum wage for servers is like $2.15 an hour. Now, if I didn't make enough back when I was bartending, if I didn't make enough tips to clear that $2.15 an hour, the restaurant would pay me up to minimum wage. But basically, the $2.15 an hour covered my taxes to some degree. So I was essentially working for free for the restaurant, and then the tips were what I actually made.
Yeah.
There were a lot of times where I didn't even get a paycheck from the restaurant because 100% of my paycheck went to taxes.
Yeah, that I completely understand. But no, yeah. So, but now if you're in one of these positions where you're working and you're face to face with people, my opinion is you should be full mask on all day long. We have building staff in this building here, and they don't always have masks on. And I'm not really that worried about myself or any of this really. But I don't feel, I believe they should be wearing masks because the next person that walks down the hallway who's not me could have a problem with that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But this, I mean, I think this is simple seatbelt law, the way that I look at it. I always, people always ask, why are you wearing a seatbelt if you're the one that's going to die at the end of the day? If you get in an accident, you're not wearing a seatbelt, that's your fault. And what happens if you get in an accident, you're not wearing your seatbelt, you fly through the windshield, you break both legs, both arms, you survive, and the other person was at fault, and they wouldn't have done that damage to you if you had a seatbelt on.
Yeah, there's all the collateral damage of the insurance that's going to be higher for everybody else in your own medical bills and everything. So
Yeah.
even though you're only harming yourself, there's still all these spillover effects of costs. And
exactly, and we got a 4-star review, and the review said, shit, I want to pull it up right now. It said like the Julia Group is a dangerous place. If you're concerned with with your safety, you should avoid this place. Da, da, da.
And what was their issue? But why did they give you that review?
The issue was the person they were dealing with primarily had a mask on. Somebody else stepped into the room that they were in who did not have a mask on. They're in the conference room, so I get that. But a 4-star review hits hard, especially, I went to these guys signing on my own myself, and, I really tried to give them the best possible service. But one person there being involved, we lose a star, and now it's not just 5-star reviews competing with the 3 1-star reviews we have, but it's, out of a few hundred 5 stars. But now it's a 4-star review. So the 4-star actually pulls us down. It says, I suggest you don't visit the office directly if you are at risk. Which, fair enough.
Well, honestly, if you're at risk, you shouldn't really be out in public at all. Like, minimize trips out into the public to the absolute minimum.
Have you talked to your parents about this?
Yeah, my dad is, how old is he now? 71. He's smoked since he was probably 15. So there's no way that his lungs are in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but also I think of a smoker. I put them in the person that's willing to take a higher calculated, if not uncalculated risk. Because think about, people know the statistics on lung cancer and mouth cancer. So to me, the smoker is somebody who's willing to take a slightly higher risk.
Yeah, but I think in terms of what I don't know what my parents are really doing, because they're all the way there. First of all, they're in Albany and they're both retired, so they don't really have a reason to go out. Neither of them are particularly social. My dad would run support groups for some addiction kind of support things, but he's been doing all of that remote probably for the last 3 or 4 months now.
All on what, like Zoom?
Yeah, either that or teleconferencing of some form. But yeah, he's been doing that remote.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I feel bad for my mom. She's terrified. We're like talking as far as Thanksgiving, and, her coming over for Thanksgiving, or my sister coming up from Florida, taking a plane, and then she's exposed to this, that, and the next on the plane. And then, sees my mom in November for Thanksgiving. But my concern is, like, how long are we going to let this stretch for before it's, before people come back to normal? Because the people in the U.S. have made fun of Chinese people predominantly and other Asian cultures that wear a lot of masks. And now, a couple cars passed me today, and the drivers, they're probably taxis, drivers had masks on. I didn't really think twice about it. I just, that's a service industry person in contact with a lot of people. That person's got the mask on.
Sure. Makes sense.
But what do you think where do you think we stop talking about this?
Well, the way I look at it is we have kind of two avenues in front of us, and we've picked neither of them. So if you looked at some of the countries that had this happen early on, back in January, February, look at South Korea, look at Japan, look at China.
Yep.
Now, and then also like Italy, Spain, most of Europe, where as soon as this happened, those countries clamped down hard. They shut down everything, and they had people, they forced their citizens to register for contact tracing through their phone. If you came into that country, you had to download an app, or you weren't allowed in, or you had to quarantine in a government hotel for 2 weeks. You had to do all these steps. Yeah. And life probably sucked pretty hard for a good month and a half, 2 months, maybe longer in those countries. But now you can look at those countries, especially New Zealand, I think, is the shining example, where they have 0 new cases and 0 deaths right now. And their country is back and running just like normal. They're not letting people.
You can't, even if they tried to implement, even if you tried to implement that in the U.S., like people feel like their basic human rights to not, like I don't see where you're dumb enough to try to argue like a freedom of speech type of argument against not wearing a mask. I fucking hate wearing a mask. I try to get away with it anywhere I can't wear it. I walk around outside on the sidewalk, I don't wear it. But I understand being around other people. I'm not trying to piss off everybody that I come in contact with. Like that's not who I am.
So let's look at the two extremes. So the one extreme is take the really kind of almost despotic approach of clamp down on everything, track every citizen's movements to contact trace and be able to quarantine people as they get the virus, heavily test, and then it'll go away pretty quickly, as we've seen in some of these countries. That's approach number one.
Sure, with metrics outlined and people knowing that if they follow this for 3 weeks to 6 weeks, everything, can gradually reopen. But I think that, the metrics, the expectations, the quotas need to be very hard outlined, but it does have to be a quick clamp fist on early on.
And here's the other thing that's really important that I forgot to mention is pretty much all of those countries had pretty significant government support to economically enable people to be able to make this sacrifice of you're not going to do anything for the next 3 to 6 weeks. You're not going to work. You're not going to make money. You're not going to be able to do much besides stay at home, watch videos, and maybe go out and for a jog or something. So the government supported their citizens and made it so that economically citizens didn't feel the pressure to need to get back to work immediately. And so when you have all those elements, you can get rid of the virus. I'm not suggesting which approach is the best, but that's approach number one. Approach number two is basically do nothing and just let it kind of run itself out. And that
didn't Sweden do something along these lines?
Yes, and for a short period of time, Sweden had the highest infection rates and the highest death rates in all of Europe, despite having subsidized healthcare and government healthcare and allowing people to basically get healthcare whenever they needed to. They still had a lot of infections because they tried to trust their citizens to do the right thing and socially distance, but you're never going to be able to get everybody on board willingly, which is why you look at like a country like China, not endorsing really any of their practices, but like they make their citizens do what the government wants to do because the alternative is life in prison or worse.
Yeah, exactly. And what Chinese prison is like. It's like a black hole, I feel like. So.
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying that that's the best way to approach it, but if you want to get a result, responding with the most amount of force possible will get you that result. Partner at my firm early on in this pandemic, when we basically had instructed all of our employees to work from home, I was in the office to pick up some documents and I was talking with him. And one thing that he said was, I'm fundamentally a numbers, like I'm not going to get into empathy or anything like that.
Yeah.
He said, why not instead of closing down the economy and causing all this economic, why not just allow people to do whatever they want and then basically set up a government health insurance, not health insurance, a government life insurance where anyone that happens to die through COVID gets basically a government check for that simulates what life insurance would be. And we just put a monetary figure on this. And he's like, you know what? If we just paid people who happen to die because of the COVID and whatnot, then that would probably come out cheaper than all the economic damage that we're doing.
I actually think that would be, I mean, that's brilliant economics, but it's harsh politics and leadership, and you're also paying their beneficiaries. You're not paying them. So, just like life insurance doesn't tend to pay off very well for the person who holds the policy.
Yeah, it's
a tough pill to swallow.
You got to jump through some hoops to be able to make a life insurance policy worth it to yourself.
I mean, yeah, that's alternate identity and an empty casket type territory.
Well, what we've kind of done in this country is none of the above. Is for a while we tried the shutdown thing.
Yeah, I, in my opinion, I think we need strict guidance from above, and then there's got to be some wiggle room place by place, because obviously New York City is not, rural Oregon, is not North Dakota. So, I think municipalities should be able to kind of make some of their own rules, but I do believe we need some strict guidance from the federal government.
Yeah. So here's the analogy that I came up with the other night that I think just really illustrates the plight of a lot of people in this country, especially namely the people that are forced to work right now because they don't have any other choice. Is like in high school when you're riding down in a car, the car was full, like 4 or 5 people, and the driver decides to rip a huge fart and then rolls up all the windows and presses window lock.
Wait,
and so the other
this coronavirus? I'm sorry.
Because these people that have to work or whatever are just like the passengers in this car, polluted air, and the driver just pressed window lock.
Especially,
and you can't even roll down the windows to ventilate. And so you're just like, well, I guess I just got to sit in this car until our lungs filter this crap out.
Well, especially if these guys, you take the analogy a little deeper, especially if these guys don't have their own cars. So tomorrow is not an option of alternate transportation. And they're stuck being forced to have to jump in this car with this skanky ass driver.
Yeah.
Shit. Well, I don't know if I was ever in that situation in high school. I don't know about you. Maybe I was a driver. Dude, I don't know.
But that's where I look at it, is that you're forcing a lot of people to kind of take the only option given to them with not even the illusion of choice.
No, I haven't been. I've worked every single day because I just try to do every single thing in my power to put myself in a position where I can make an income. And if I had a different type of job, say the service industry or something, and that was my career, I would make sure that I was at the front lines, waiting at the front door, to start work, because I could run the risk of 1 in 100 or 1 in 250 of dying, but I could also run the risk of not being able to pay rent, not being able to pay my cell bill, not being able to pay electricity, not being able. I might as well be I might as well be dead effectively. I mean, that's taking it a little far in my opinion, but if I get evicted, and got to live on the streets, what am I going to do?
Right.
I mean, it's a shit. And I can tell you, as somebody whose expenses are really, really, really high, the private or whatever unemployment that we're getting is not. I mean, that doesn't do anything. My rent it triples what they're paying in unemployment. So
right,
it's not $1,200 for. I said if they gave me an $800 check, I'd shove it up my ass. They gave me $1,200. I reconsidered, but that's just because I didn't want any paper cuts.
Well, the way I look at it is, you got to do something to help these people out, I don't know if rent forgiveness is necessarily the answer either, because a lot of these landlords, I do taxes for people that do a lot of rental properties or whatever. A lot of rental properties actually lose money.
Well, forgiveness or canceling rent is a terrible policy. It sounds great in theory until you actually look at it in theory. you're screwing landlords, and not most landlords aren't giant corporations that own thousands or tens of thousands of apartments or different units. A lot of
Because you're just offsetting the problem from like one person getting evicted because they didn't pay rent to the landlord possibly being in foreclosure because they can't afford the mortgage.
Yeah, or property taxes, or the utility bills like sewer or something like that. It's not billed to the tenants.
Yeah, you name it.
Yeah, I mean it's. I've been getting on Twitter and I'm a terrible Twitter user. I don't look enough, but I follow the cancel rent hashtag, and I make some comments on these cancel rent people because it's just not a rent voucher program is 10 times better than a cancel rent program.
Sure, but where's that money coming from?
The issue is I feel like without federal involvement, states like New York State, we got slammed really hard in the beginning and then made fun of, and now everybody else is going through it throughout the country. This parts of the country, and they're like, oh shit, I guess they had a point.
Yep.
But I feel like the federal government's going to listen a lot more to the greater U.S. than they are to New York State, and our time has passed in New York State. And then of course, I got a grant from New York City to cover payroll and keep people on, which I've exhausted at this point. But New York City can only shoulder so much of the financial burden of this. Your city and your state governments can only handle so much.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead.
Well, I had a conversation with one of my friends in Charleston probably about 2 months ago now about because the general state of the economy right now, when you look at the stock market, doesn't seem to make a lot of sense because stocks are only trading about maybe 5% below their all-time highs before the coronavirus hit. And you look at all the fundamentals of the economy and you say, there's no way that we're only off 5% when you look at the number of unemployed, the decrease in earnings across the board in pretty much any sector, with the exception of like online retail because people have been doing a lot more online shopping. But
you're saying they're 5% below their high right now?
Yeah, so like the S&P's at 325 right now. Its all-time high was about 340 or so. So it's really only down about 5%. And you just look at the economy, you're like, there's no way that we should only be down 5%. And so one of the things that my theory on this, like for this decoupling in the market, has to do with basically the government intervention. We've printed so much money and pumped so much money into the largely to shore up the markets, both the stock markets and also the corporate bond markets. Mm-hmm. And so eventually that all this quantitative easing that the government's going to do is either going to stop or it's going to cause significant inflation. You're already seeing that in certain sectors.
I think the inflation thing, so many people are getting free money. I'm looking at real estate agents that are collecting almost $1,000 a week, and they weren't making that much money doing real estate. We have a lot of people making a lot of money that are really fucked because they're not making anything now. But I have a lot of inactive agents or independent contractors who weren't making shit, and now they're like they're making a ton more than they were before.
Yeah, but the problem. So I was trying to explain to him because he couldn't understand why this was all going on, and what I explained to him was that the Fed has really one directive. Like there's a whole bunch of things it wants to do, but if you want to oversimplify things, the Fed's job is to do one thing, and that's to control inflation. And there's kind of a sweet spot for where inflation should be. You generally want to be between 2 and 3%, because if it's any higher than that, then money loses.
Do you remember being on Saratoga Lake in the boat, and the gas was like $1.25, and we're like, fuck that. We're not going to pump the gas in the lake. We're going to get it for 95 cents. We're not going to pay the extra 35 cents. Dude, I think we were with Dad. Your dad came out of the boat that day, and we weren't going to pay for the gas on the lake because it was $1.25.
Okay.
Does that sound accurate in your memory? Do you remember this?
Vaguely. We're talking about something that was 12 years ago.
Okay. Do you know what
13 years ago.
Do you know what gas is near my apartment? the closest gas station to my apartment is on like 51st Street. It's across the street from a Porsche dealership.
Probably about 240 to 250.
No, it's like 455.
Well, no, yeah, New York City prices.
No, yeah, but I don't think you can find it for less than $3 in the city. I'll check tonight, but I'm pretty sure it's over $3 at the and gas stations in Manhattan are disappearing because I mean, gas stations don't make that much money. You're only allowed to, you can only charge that much more on gas. This place is scraping an extra $2 a gallon is definitely killing it. But people don't even go in the store to pay anymore. So you're most of your customers, you're just getting the margin on the fuel, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so Charleston right now, in our general area, Charleston's about $2 a gallon. You go out a little bit further, you can get down to like 178 or so.
For real?
Columbia is like 175.
Shit, man. I'm gonna send you down some gallon jugs of milk, to empty gallons of milk, and you can fill them up and FedEx them back. I think I'd still be saving money.
Yeah, so like 167 or so in Columbia.
Jesus.
It's only 100 miles away.
So look, back on the mask thing, because that's what I want to know, the difference between the people and the behaviors in New York City versus South Carolina. And I really believe most people here in New York City, like, you have to be careful with your interactions with other people. Like, you don't get too close to people. You don't invade personal space. You don't talk to strangers. If you're in the line at the grocery store, you have people that are so close to you, you kind of mind personal space because there's such little of it here. Whereas when you're living in the South, you're in line with somebody at the grocery store, like, their grandchildren's name by the time you check out. So I think a lot of New York City is about not making eye contact, not infiltrating people's personal space, and not trying to pick a fight with somebody, because so many people, when it's 95 degrees and you get on the subway, people are just, they're ready to fight you. And it doesn't matter if you're 63 years old with grocery bags, or if you're 19 years old with a backpack coming from school. You bump into the wrong person and they're ready to deck you. And it doesn't matter if you're a grandmother or a high school kid or a middle school kid. So
know your place.
Yeah, but a lot of people are, in my opinion, and this is what I'm thinking, that's why I'm asking you, in my opinion, people here in New York are a lot probably faster to mask up than a lot of other places, just because we have that respect and courtesy for your neighbor. Given having a mask on, sucks ass, but it's better than being punched in the face.
Yeah, so down here, for the most part, so when I go into grocery stores and whatnot, all the staff are wearing masks. They're good about it. But I'll see some people that aren't wearing masks. Now, personally, what frustrates me, my roommate works at a grocery store, actually. And he tells me stories every single day of people that'll come in without wearing masks or whatever when he's checking them out, that they're complaining about having to wear the mask, or they're saying that this is all a hoax or a conspiracy or fake or anything like that. So I think that there's just a radically different opinion down here.
I think
the other thing that
we're talking about it.
Well, and the other thing, and this, I'm going to have to put this one on the businesses, is that for them, the businesses need to take a stance and basically make it so that when people come in without wearing masks, they need to kick them out and say, look, you're not allowed in here without a mask.
I think I don't think you get a free pass anywhere. I think the general, me as a business owner.
Down here, it's not enforced.
Me as a business owner, because I hate wearing masks. But, I've had I had one guy come in and he was all pissed off and he was in a bad mood. I have plexiglass up. I don't know if you can see it in the. You can see it, right? Yeah, so I got plexiglass up in front of where, it's not stopping the air, but stopping spit, I guess. But I said, look, man, if you want to, and I could tell you, I said, look, I don't mind if you take the mask off. But what I've told the employees here, I put a new, after this 4-star review, which, hurt my feelings, but she was right. I put masks required, mask, whatever the sign says, mask required beyond this point. But I've told the staff here, because, I sit behind a desk for 10, 11 hours a day some days. If you're at your desk and you don't want to wear the mask, like that's on you. You need to check with the people if there's anybody else in the room. But if there's customers or clients here, you need to have a mask on. Customers and clients can't see you without a mask on. My thinking is purely, you're sitting side by not side by side because we're trying to space it out a little bit, but you're in close contact with a lot of these people. You're going out for drinks with them after work, like you're hanging out with them. You're no matter how hard you try, you're probably coming in within 6 feet of somebody several times a day in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So, the people in the office, if one person's exposed, pretty much everybody's going to get it, if they start showing symptoms and have it self-tested or something. But my general rule is if there's customers here, you got to have a mask on.
Yeah. And that's a good rule. So my office is the same way, where if you're sitting at your desk, you don't need to wear a mask. As soon as you stand up from your desk, even if it's to go to the bathroom, your mask is on. If you're going to talk to a coworker about a question you have, your mask is on.
Hey, Matt Walsh, this is a podcast. You're live on SipTalk, actually. And you can check this out on YouTube. If you want to watch the post-edited video production on YouTube, go to YouTube and search SipTalk. And we are also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere else you can find podcasts. Just search SipTalk. So just so you know, this is a podcast. Feedback is much appreciated. And if you do see the SipTalk podcast, please subscribe, like it, share it, comment. It's super appreciated because it is something we're trying to grow. So sorry about that. You're talking about.
No, you're good. Yeah, and so I had a week or so ago, I had to meet with a client that one of my favorite clients, super smart guy, runs a pharmaceutical company, and he's probably one of the more complicated clients that I have when it comes to just the financials and the tax stuff. And so we met for about an hour. We had to wear a mask the entire time, and anytime that someone right now, actually, our front door is locked to the office. If you're a client and you want to come in, you're not going to be able to. Now, every once in a while, we've got a box outside and the clients can just knock on the door, drop their documents off, and we'll pick them up. If they need to come and sign for a return or whatnot, then we'll actually deliver it to them outside and they can sign it in their car, or we've got a picnic table outside that they can sit down. So we're pretty strict about that, especially since we have a couple people in the office that would probably be at risk if they were to get infected. So I think that we've done a pretty good job as a company in terms of handling it. But my roommate who works at a grocery store, he says that people come into the store without masks all the time. I said, well, why don't you just kick them out and say you can't come in here without a mask? He's like, because we're a big corporate company. We're not going to do that. We need them. They care more about the money than my personal health. What?
Grocery store?
Food Line. Yeah.
Food Line. And they don't kick people out?
I've been in Food Line a couple times over the last 2 weeks, and I've seen people without wearing masks, and they haven't been kicked out.
All right. So can I brought this up to you. I think I sent you a text picture of the image, but it's called shopping cart theory. And one of the agents here, Matt Abril, shared this with me. He goes, "Oh, have you heard of shopping cart theory?" And you just keep mentioning we're talking about grocery stores and the shopping cart theory. What this Reddit thread is talking about is written by an anonymous. I don't know where it came from, but I like it. Shopping cart theory is the ultimate litmus test as to whether the person is capable of self-governing. So returning a shopping cart is easy and convenient, and we all know that it's the right thing to do. And everybody knows you unload your car, the right choice is to return the shopping cart. However, it's not illegal. No one's policing you. And it's a choice that you have to make on your own. You're never forced to do it. Unless, you go into these dickhead, not YouTube, TikTok people trying to record you not returning your shopping cart. But for the most part, there's nobody influencing your decision. It's your job to do it because it's the right thing to do.
And ultimately, you're going to suffer no consequences one way or the other. You return the shopping cart, you don't return the shopping cart, your life isn't going to change.
But it's like wiping off the toilet seat or flushing in a public bathroom. Yeah, flushing. If you take a crap in a public bathroom, like you typically flush because you don't want to embarrass yourself after you leave. But a lot of people don't flush. I mean, trust me, I see in this office. I don't go to the ladies' room. I go to the men's room, and there's always piss in the urinal. And I really think it's because they don't want to touch the handle, which they should be washing their hands afterwards, anyways. But what shopping cart theory is it separates the person who's incapable of self-governing from the person who is capable of self-governing.
Yeah. So let's theorize what is it about wearing masks that has some people so opposed to it? Why are there some people that are taking such a hard stance against wearing a mask? And that's even like both of us can acknowledge that it's uncomfortable and it's sometimes inconvenient, but I started doing it, and like I'll wear them basically when I'm not in the office and when I'm not in my apartment. If I go anywhere, a store, I go to the office in my apartment to sign my new lease, I'm wearing a mask.
All right. But the issue is, and I'm somebody who I've gotten a lot of flack from people that I've been in close quarters with because I have a hard and heavy breathe. I had a guy, big guy. He must have been 250, 6 foot minimum, maybe 6'2" today. I interviewed. He had a mask on the whole time. When he walked in, I mean, it's hot in New York City. It was mid-90s today. And guy came in. He was sweaty. He gave me a handshake, which, again, I'm not that concerned with the wrist. I gave him a handshake back. But it was sweaty as shit, the handshake. And he came and he sat here. I could watch as this dude was breathing. His whole mask. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this from where you are? As he breathed in, he was like,
oh, yeah.
I'm sure he knows. But I could see as he was taking breaths and he wasn't out of breath. He was a deep, heavy breather. I'm a deep, heavy breather. My thing is, so when I get up in the morning, I've been getting up pretty early these days, like 6:50, 7:15, kind of the latest. What I like to do is I've been trying to hit the rower in the morning because my foot's basically broken. I told you that.
Yep.
I can't run, so normally my morning workout is a run or the gym if the gym is open. But obviously, there's no gyms. So I ran so much of being a coronavirus. I have plantar fasciitis or the heel spur or whatever. I need a fucking X-ray, really, but whatever. It's not getting fixed. So I got a rower. I've been doing the rower. Need to wake up before I hit the rower, and I got to do a little coffee drinking, and I got to let some stuff flow through my system first before I get in the rower. Otherwise, I get interrupted about 6 minutes in. I'm like, oh shit, I can't continue to row.
Right, just get all the systems come online.
It's just how it works. It's 7:40 in the morning. It's just exercise in the morning. So drink some coffee, hit the rower. I've been taking. You ever taken cold showers? Is that your kind of thing or no?
Only after vigorous exercise when my body temperature is high.
All right, yeah. So I like a cold shower. When I get home today, first thing I'll do when I walk through the door is disrobe and turn that shower on 20% heat and hop in where it's icy cold. And it's just refreshing. I like the challenge of it, but it just makes me feel like I just mentally crushed something in life. I don't know the deal with that, but I'll do a cold shower after hitting the rower. And then I get dressed, and I have to have the fan on me because I'm still somewhat perspiring. And then I do whatever. Sometimes I'll eat. When I leave the apartment almost every day, though, I still am sweating a little bit. So it's tough to get. I mean, you've seen me sweat. I sweat a fucking lot. It's tough to put the mask over my sweaty face and walk out the building. That's for me the toughest time is leaving my apartment 8:30, 8:45 in the morning with the mask on. And anyways, I'm gonna hop on the bike. So I usually walk out of the house. James, you got video on, right?
Yeah.
So I usually walk out of the apartment like this without the mask because as soon as I hit the road, as soon as I walk outside and throw my leg over the bike, I'm just gonna throw it down. So I get a little self-conscious stepping, when I hit the elevator button, the elevator opens, I'm always a little self-conscious because I don't have the mask on. Somebody's going to be on there. And if they are, I wouldn't get on because I don't have anything covering my face. And if somebody's not in the elevator, I'm always worried that when I get to the bottom floor, the elevator opens up, some old lady's going to be outside the elevator. And, she's going to faint because I'm not wearing a mask. But I'm not about to, with no flowing air, I'm not about to throw the motorcycle helmet over my sweaty head, and I'm not about to throw this piece of cloth over my face. It's just me soaking wet. So that's my only issue with it. But I don't, throwing it on, and your skin's dry and you're not, you don't really have any other reason to not wear it. I just think it's kind of silly.
Yeah, but what is it that's making some of these people so viciously opposed to it? What's going on there? What's your thoughts?
I think they're jumping on the bandwagon. I think these people are jumping on the bandwagon of being a hard extremist right wing, which oddly I've become so much more moderate, just so much more kind of undecided on so many issues lately. But I am definitely not hardcore right wing. But I want to hear both sides of everything. But I just think these people are jumping on the bandwagon, and part of me as a salesperson and somebody who does what I do is you just don't piss people off because you never know where they're going to turn up down the line. And you just want to be in life a good person. For me, I like to keep friends. I don't like to burn bridges. I like doing the right thing. That trumps.
It's the same thing in my industry. Is my clients span the political spectrum from extreme left to extreme right. I don't discuss politics with our clients at all. At one point, somebody put up for the mayoral election back in the fall in front of our office, and I don't know who did it. And one of the partners came in and brought the sign in, and just like, we can't have this out front. And I said, why is that? And he's like, honestly, that's the guy that all of us want. But the thing is, some of our clients don't. So it's better for us to just not take a stance.
And that's exactly, that's the thing is, when do people think it's cool to just be a fucking dick? What's the deal with just being a dick and thinking that's okay because it's justified? Of course it's justified. 20% of the time. But if you're exposed to coronavirus and you walk into a grocery store without a mask on, you walk by some old lady and she fucking dies 2.5 weeks later, you just fucking killed somebody, bro.
Right.
And say nobody dies. You walk into a grocery store, somebody's afraid of dying, or somebody lives with their grandparents, and they're like, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" And you're like, "It's my right not to wear one." No, it's not.
No, because your rights are trampling on others. You're having an effect on other people's abilities to live their lives.
Yeah. Somebody just asked what I'm drinking. I am now drinking my favorite scotch, which I reserve only for special occasions, which is a Lagavulin. And that's because I ran out of...
That's an Islay, right?
It is, yeah. Do you remember when we were kids? We must have been 7. You were going to Spain, I think. And your mom had bought a bunch of wine. She was like, Jamie, in Spain, they drink more wine. So, you and I only drank Midori sours at that point in time, which I don't think I've had since, early high school.
I had a whole bunch of those back when I was bartending, but
yeah, because it's a cool looking drink. But outside of the Midori sours we made when we were 15 years old, your mom had bought some wine. She also bought some scotch. I just remember your mom said to you, this is one of my favorite, and I say it all the time. She goes, because your mom calls you Jamie, which I think, I don't know you as Jamie, but I just hear your mom saying, but Jamie. So she goes, and she tastes the scotch. She goes, but Jamie, it tastes like the swamp. It tastes like bog water, Dyken Pond.
Yep.
And it kind of does, and I thought it was disgusting. I'm like, fuck this. People don't really drink this.
That was Ardbeg.
It was Ardbeg. You're completely correct in that, which is also one of my favorites, is Ardbeg. but it is an Islay, and an Islay Scotch has a more pea, mossy, boggy type flavor.
Very smoky too.
And it's absolutely fucking wonderful. The Dewar's I love. You know, I like a nice Macallan. I like a Dewar. Dewar's, you know, I drink almost daily, or you know, I have in the past because it's not super expensive. But I love the Lagavulin, the Lefroy, the Oban, the Ardbeg. You know, those are my go-tos. Like, I want to do a full Scotch tour, like hardcore bender across Scotland. That would be
my whole thing is like, I think that drinking those straight can be a little bit much sometimes, just because there's so much flavor going on with them, and that it can be tough to just do neat or unadulterated. But I've always liked those as like a rinse on another cocktail. So you rinse out the glass with it, and that, you know, you get like this note of the Scotch and the smoke and the peat and everything else. So it's not overwhelming.
So a lot of people don't know what a rinse is. So basically, a rinse is you throw a little dash, you know, like a third of a shot, if that, in the,
not even that. You're doing like maybe an ounce.
Yeah, in the cocktail, and you basically coat the interior of the glass with it, and then you dump it. But you get the essence of it, you get the scent of it, you get sometimes the real soft notes of the Scotch, or whatever you're using as a rinse. You get those notes of it, but you don't really get a full in-your-face flavor. So when you're drinking it, you're getting the floral notes, but you're not getting the deep flavor of the drink. Anything you want to add on making a rinse? Dan Dujack, Dyken Pond. He just got, but
what?
We just got a comment. Somebody's like, I know Dyken Pond. I'm like, oh shit, like, for real. That's wild. That's wild. But yeah, Dyken Pond, one of my favorite places in the world. I have not visited Dyken Pond in a long time, but you know, you and I were the Rough Riders, so making the trails. Good old.
But yeah, man. As far as things are going on in South Carolina, it's so weird because we've got some people that are on board with it, but then we've got just this undercurrent of kind of conservative grief that they feel that this is all made up for one reason or another, and it's really hard to combat.
But let it be made up. But if 8 out of 10 people believe it, then would you just want to piss off 80% of the people? Like, is that like, what's the, why are you gravitating towards just being a fucking dick? That's what I think it comes down to with wearing a mask. If you don't wear a mask, you're a dick.
Well, I think you can look at the top. You can look at, for the longest time, he used to wear a mask. And a lot of people said if the president is ultimately the chief person that people look to in terms of the example for behavior that's set in this country, whether you like it or not. That's kind of how people look at it.
The president is a leader of the free world, or leader of the nation at the very least. And I thought it was crazy that when they were talking about that you should wear masks, they weren't wearing masks.
Right.
I would wake up. I wake up to talk radio in the morning. Goes off at like 7:10 or something like that in the morning, and would just train me to wake up even earlier because like my body predicts the radio is going to go off. And
what are you listening to in the morning?
I'm listening to WNYC's NPR channel.
Okay.
So I do that, and then what I'll do is well, in the beginning, I was only working 12 to 5. In the first 2 months or so, I was working 12 to 5. I'm like, shit, like I'm not getting enough done. But then I would listen to MSNBC on TV, and I'd watch the New York governor address the state and apparently the rest of the country. And then I'd come to the office, and I had MSNBC on all day long in the office because I could stream it. And then I'd go home, and I'd get a little more dicier and throw on like Fox News and CNN, like and flip back and forth depending on what was going on. But I was like addicted, to basically see what what the news is like from either side. and I listen to a lot of it. And I pretty much shut it. I still do the little NPR in the morning. I like NPR just because, like, I listen to 1010. You have 1010 down in South Carolina?
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's an AM station, 1010 Wings. Maybe it's not Wings down there, but it's 1010. Really popular AM channel. And a lot of taxi drivers listen to 1010. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's right wing, but it's not as liberal or just kind of, I don't even think, I think a hardcore right wing person listens to NPR and they're like, oh, this is bad. But like if you objectively listen to NPR, it's pretty moderate and pretty open-minded.
They try to be balanced whenever they can. Like it leans a little left, but it's not radical left like it's painted as being. I would say that like if 50 is dead left, NPR is like a 38.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean you're on the curve. But I mean I'd even say at 40s though. Like especially when it comes to any news publication. Like what are you not getting that's not, you know, in the 2.5 or 2.5 right now?
In the what?
You're on the what do they call that? When you look at a
standard deviation?
Standard deviation. Outside of standard
yes.
deviation. You know, I feel like MSNBC, CNN, and then Fox are your 2.5 on either end of the spectrum.
2.5 standard. So 2 standard deviations captures 95% of the curve.
Exactly. So they're outside of the 95% of. They're just as radical as it gets. Like you know, and that's. I just feel.
Yeah.
like
So if you're outside of 2 standard deviations, that means that you're more extreme than 95% of whatever else is going on.
That's what I think, and I think they're polling people more extreme. I don't know what Fox News looks like when it comes to mask wearing, but I imagine it's. I mean, I have a
They've been all over the map. They've kind of changed recently. I think they've taken a more metered stance on it. But,
well, a lot of their viewers are older age, so you know those are a lot of people that are being hardcore affected by what's going on.
Yeah, and well, also, I think that you've seen, to some degree, Fox News kind of follow Trump's narrative, where, like, it's almost like an echo chamber, where, like, Trump will say something, and then Fox News will kind of come back with it, or Fox News will say something, and then Trump will say it, and Trump was like, well, I heard this. I'm like, well, you heard it from Fox News.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, people are saying, yeah, the only people that the only news organization you listen to, but.
Yeah, but I just think when it comes to, I mean, I'm not, anybody wearing gloves down there?
No, I haven't really seen anybody wearing gloves. Maybe in restaurants.
I got a whole pack of gloves. I think there's 50 in here, because I thought that was going to be, you know, I predicted the curtain.
Are they branded?
Are they branded? Yeah, I just stuck our sticker in there. That's all.
Oh, sorry. Well, they're branded.
Yeah, it's branded last. But I saw people wanting to. I mean, I'm not much of a 30-second soap hand scrub when it comes to. I like germs. You know, if I think you need. You know, I don't wash my hands that much. I touch the phone in the subway. I'm not the guy that you know like does one of these and open the door kind of thing like that. Like that's not who I am. I don't mind germs. I figure you know if I get sick, my body's going to recover. I'm pretty healthy. You know, I could do a 7-minute mile. Like, you know, I'm all right. But I'm not much of a hair washer, point being. So I got those thinking they'd become a big thing. But I will tell you, when I see somebody in the street with gloves on, I know this is one serious motherfucker. And that's somebody that, like, if I happen to not be wearing a mask, because a lot of times I walk the streets, I don't have a mask on, I'm going to give them their 6 feet plus.
Yeah, because that means that they're probably dealing with some shit that they're interacting with.
Well, there's a reason you're taking the extra precaution where, you know, 49 out of 50 people is not wearing gloves and then you're wearing gloves. Like you're taking some extra precautions.
Yeah, I have not seen anybody in South Carolina wearing gloves outside of when I've been at a restaurant or like when I go to like Jimmy John's or whatever to get lunch.
Yeah, but gloves are also. I mean, your hands sweat in gloves. I feel like these cloth masks. You're not. They're much more breathable. I mean,
Oh yeah.
they're for breathing than a pair of latex gloves.
Yeah, but your hands are sweating, but the sweat's not leaving the gloves. Your hands will be gross, but they're inside the glove. So
yeah, I don't like any of that gross stuff. That's why I shower when I get home, because the undercarriage really heats up. Just saying.
oh, get some ventilation.
That's why I wear shorts, James. Oh my God! Yeah, I'm thinking back to like when we first moved to South Carolina. And what month was it? August? When did we move?
August.
August.
For sure,
Yeah.
August.
Yeah, and that was fucking hot, man. And I had the Jeep, so like I didn't really have AC. Yeah,
I see when you were moving.
Well, remember that car was in such bad shape that the Jeep was in such bad shape that I had to ship it down because it wouldn't make the ride down. So that was pretty bad. All right, dude. I'm gonna get moving real quick because we masked off this. We take the mask off this mask conversation. The point is, you got to be wearing a mask, otherwise you're just a dick. And that's all I got on that. Like I can't come up with a compelling reason to not wear a mask or to defend somebody who's not wearing a mask.
No, suffer the minor inconvenience, asshole. Like it's 10 minutes for most people. It's 10 or 15 minutes out of your day that you have to breathe slightly heavier. Get over yourself.
I don't breathe that. And that big dude that came in, he must have been like 260 pounds today. He had the mask on the whole time, and he didn't seem to. And he was sweating. He did not seem to mind.
Yeah, you make small sacrifices to make life better for everybody else. That's what being in a society is. Otherwise, watch the movie Castaway and treat that as your inspiration.
Well, I mean, have you? So I started watching. When this stuff first started hitting. I started watching these pandemic movies. Like, oh shit, what are some of these pandemic movies?
Resident Evil, the whole series.
No, I think Pandemic is one of the movies, like Dustin Hoffman or something. But I mean, these are, like in 3 days you get these things and you die, Ebola style. Just crazy shit. So, dude, I don't know. I'm not that worried. But I'm gonna walk outside.
We can wrap it up for tonight, though. Where are we on the promos?
Where are we at promos? I'm just gonna hit a quick Webull because Webull's been pretty good to me this week. I got some Tesla on Webull, and I think
fractional shares.
Yeah, I think I grabbed a little Amazon, and I might have done a full Shopify because I just think all these people are at home. I think Shopify is going to keep growing because people are selling shit. But yeah, but Webull I like. You use something else. Webull I signed up. I got 2 free stocks. I shared with a friend. I got another 2 free stocks. They got 2 free stocks. If you're watching post-production YouTube video, the link's below. We got a little Webull link, and you will get 2 free stocks when you sign up. The free stocks I got right off the bat, I was up to like, what did I tell you the other day? Like $214 or something.
Yeah, we trade at different limits.
Well, but they, yeah, obviously. I don't know stuff. I don't trade stock. But for free, I got $200 basically. I made some money, and things are so volatile right now. If you get something for free and it turns to zero, you didn't lose anything. But if you get something for free and it makes money, So
that's how getting anything for free works.
True. Yeah, you'd be surprised though. People get free shit, it gets taken away from them. You feel like these fucking stole that car. But yeah, man. So Webull, I'm gonna tell you, hit up. You can check out the link in YouTube. Otherwise, in Instagram or Facebook, you hit that YouTube link. It'll bring you to the YouTube page, and the Webull link is below. Anything you want to add on your end before we wrap?
Nah, man. Maybe maybe next week we talk a little bit stocks, because I'm a firm believer in options trading. Which do you know if Webull has options?
I don't. I am so uneducated when it comes to anything that has anything to do with stocks. It's just, oh. Shit, man. Fucking 5 devices here over here ringing.
And I'll have a webcam next time, so that way, and I'll pimp whatever web I got. You can see me in all my grainy glory.
Beautiful, grainy glory. No, but I stay inside my lane. Like I'm just experimenting with stock stuff. I made a couple of bucks. I didn't really put any money in there. It's cool as shit because like it's cool to see money go up when you're not really spending money. That's my thing on Webull. I think we should talk more about stocks next time. Let's wrap it. I will catch you later. Enjoy your warm beer, and thanks for joining.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, and yeah, we'll talk next time. And stay safe out there, everybody.
All right. Well, remind me, we're going to talk about that sign-off, stay safe, all right?
You disagree?
We'll talk more on it. I like the Bobby Hastings slogan, don't do anything stupid.
Oh.
We'll talk. Remind me next time we'll talk about it. I'll catch you later.
All right, later.
If you're watching this, it means you made it to the end. Thank you very much for watching the whole thing. If you made it this far and you have not liked, subscribed, commented, shared this podcast, you owe me. Thanks for watching.